we're just talking about, or all of us were kind of talking about, just that, that toning, that mentality and that mind space of basically like being or doing the yoga all the time, right? You're in that stressful moment, you're in traffic, or your kids are screaming or something. How can you come back to that place of centeredness, even if it's just like one deep inhale and exhale, just kind of like reminding yourself that you can do the yoga and that you can come to that sacred, safe space. So hopefully that's what we can think about today and work on today, toning the mind, but then also the body. There's so much stretching and strengthening and all that happens, but especially when we get to like hold the poses and just kind of scan the body, there's so much toning happening, which I love, just those tiny little muscles that are toning. So that is, again, what we will be working on today. So coming to a comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like and feels like to you. And for those of you that have done some of my restorative classes, there's all kinds of props that you can use. I typically like to teach classes that you don't need to have anything, so you know that you can just, drop into yoga at any point. But if just sitting feels uncomfortable right now, your hips hurt or something, you can always elevate your hips sitting on like a yoga block. Not everybody has those, but it's just like a sturdy, block or some kind of pillow or blanket or something, just giving you those options to release the hips a little bit more. So shift around however you need to. Elena, welcome. Happy to see you. Yay. Nice. And go ahead and close your eyes and look within and start to not think about anybody else that's here. No one else is looking at your video, I'm pretty sure. Probably looking at me and looking inward at your own mat. And just taking this moment to scan the body, checking in if there's any places that are these like stuck places, these places that are calling out to you, that are holding tension and they don't need to be. Yeah. Letting them go. And grounding down through the hips and the knees. Feeling the tailbone descending down into the earth. And giving all your weight, again, from the hips, the legs, giving that to the earth. Feeling heavy, like there's sandbags sitting on your thighs, just pressing you down, relaxing you down. Breathing into the belly and the area of where the belly button is. And imagining that the belly button is meeting the place right behind it on the spine. And they're kind of gently coming in towards each other. I'm trying to do that without clenching the belly or anything or sucking it in. There's none of that. There's just this kind of isometrically moving in towards each other. With that, the bottoms of the ribs pick up off the hips, creating space in the belly for all those deep, big, long, luxurious inhales. Tracing your vertebrae one after the other, the one on top stacking on the one below it, the whole way up through the neck, right to the base of the skull. And as you breathe into the spine, imagine that there's little spaces now created in between each vertebrae. So find a little string in the center of the crown of your head and you're being pulled up. So there's all this space happening and you're not forcing it. It's just kind of happening. Like imagine like you're a balloon feeling lifted up, but still grounded in the hips. Yoga is all about balance. So even the balance of the grounding and the lifting up, the exhale, letting go, the inhale, strengthening. In yoga, we get to strengthen the body and we get to strengthen the mind. So we get to come to this place right here and acknowledge that you're here on your own mat, your own practice, setting whatever intention you want, you need for this practice that could then spill out over into the day. So on an inhale, stretch your arms out to the side and then bring them up to the sky, lengthening up the fingertips, trying to touch the sky, the clouds. For some of you in the West Coast, maybe the stars are still out. Not really, but stretching up there, pressing the hands together, and exhale, bring them down to heart center. Solidify that intention that you have for class by pressing the hands together and touching it to your heart. Awesome. Stretching the arms back up to the sky, giving thanks for this day, and releasing the left hand down to the left side, the right arm by the ear, and walk that left hand over any amount. And you're doing a little stretch here from the beginning, but take the shoulders and tuck them away from your ears. Tuck them down. And any amount that you want to stretch over, you can bend that left arm, keep it straight, whatever works for you, however much you feel like you need to stretch. If this is like your first minute of waking up this morning, you might want to take it slowly. You've been up for hours running around. Maybe you're like, I'm feeling this. I'm going to go further. But find grace in this movement. Pressing that hip away, the fingertips up, finding your breath here. And then we're going to swoop over to the other side, taking that right arm. Inhale, the left arm following. Awesome. Dropping that right hand down and the left arm over the ear. Breathing into the hip. The QL are those muscles that I've been really thinking about. Oh, I hope I remember to do this one pose. Somebody remind me. Crescent moon on the ground. Anyway, that's a really good stretch in the hips to the ribs. Especially for those of you that are sitting or driving a lot, we really need to open this area up. So bring the knee down any amount, the hip down, and then from that place, extend up to the sides, the ribs, the shoulder, the fingertips, and then we're going to head on over to the other side. Inhale, both arms up, and exhale one more time. That left arm is down, the right arm is up. If you want, you could do a little twist here. So heart center aiming up to the sky. Once again, checking in, the shoulders are tucked in. Breathing through the belly. Awesome. And swooping to the other side, both arms inhaling up, and the right arm drops down. The left arm over the ear, and rotate open.
Heidi.
What's up?
As we're sort of doing this, and I'm trying to be mindful in practice, I've got my dog in the background that's licking or some sound that might be distracting. How do I accept that or deal with that so that I can stay sort of mindful? Can you help me with that? When you get a sec.
I think about like all the times, and you guys can come on up, and we're going to bring the hands onto the knees and keep on moving this. I just think about, so we're going to do some circles here and opening up those hips still. Think about all the distractions that I'm having too, and recognize that whatever, hearing cars in the background, family shuffling away. I just thought I would cry, and it was just a bird. So I have that little reaction too. So I think this is a great question. I think part of it is about just like knowing that it's part of the whole system, and not trying to like expect that silence is the only thing that you can have to come to that place of like centeredness and peace. And if you have to get up to move Nico away, or give him a bone, or move him into the other room or something, next time you come forward here, and then stretch your arms any amount forward. So knowing that you can like change that situation if you need to. So it doesn't mean that you have to like stay on your mat and stay with that, right? Like you can get up and move him away if you need to. But then also I think it's about really deepening in, like if you want to like ignore that a little bit more, then starting to deepen into little places in the body that you want to think about, right? So I know if I'm like dropping down right now into my hips, trying to keep my tailbone grounded, because I know it's like popping up a little bit, trying to keep the tailbone down, and then lengthen out and like check in with the back of my neck, and it's starting to tweak out. So if I like try to straighten that, like when I start to think about all those little pieces in my body, then I can more so move away from the distractions that I'm hearing, if that makes sense. And we'll start to move to the other direction. And if anybody else has their 2 cents about what comes up for them, I'd love to hear. Feel free to unmute yourself and share. Yeah, like what comes up for them whenever something else is distracting. You know, taking classes with Paul, for example, and my daughter's with me, and I just have to accept like it's not going to be this like full on, totally Zen practice. She's going to ask questions and she's going to sit underneath me and sit on top of me and want to do something else, and something hurts and I have to help her, you know, and it's like I'm just going to get out of it as much as I can and find those little moments, you know, of like that hour. There might be like 25 minutes of that, little pieces here and there that are like, this is what I got. You know, I got this out of this practice and I got this little piece out of that practice, instead of thinking that that whole hour is going to be that full on Zen, if that makes sense. All right, coming forward, stretching forward any amount. Tucking the chin, rolling up to center. And bringing the knees up and stretching the legs out here. And just wiggling them here a little bit. Into my favorite pose, bottom of the right foot in towards the inner thigh and dropping that right leg down. You know, there is this way that you can kind of grab onto the thigh and twist it open a little bit here. If it feels like a little weird in the thigh or the knee, you know, taking that to roll open a little bit. And then we press the left leg away like you're standing on a wall across from you. Belly into spine, spine into belly. Awesome. Arms up by the ears. Open up here for a moment. Extending up to the sky, heart center up. And then as you exhale, we're going to do this with the movement, trying to bring the belly down first, and then the chest, and then the chin, and then we tap the fingers down to the ground and use that plus the heel to press down into the ground to come right back up. And exhaling. Going to do this 5 times. At any amount when you come up, if you want to look up to the sky and kind of open up here, if that feels comfortable to you and not dizzying, and then come back down. I think that's my 3rd time, so 2 more times. Releasing any tension in the jaw and the shoulders, even though you're extending and stretching out. Inhaling up. And if this is your 5th time also, go ahead and release down over the leg. And this is, again, however this feels to you. You can maybe touch your nose down to your knee or not. You know, finding that adjustment. The inhale can kind of wiggle you up and the exhale releases you down. Whatever that feels like to you. Release the head. Don't follow me. I'm just looking up at you guys. So you should be your head relaxed down. And Jess, this is a great question. I'm still thinking about it too. I think another thing too is it's all about a practice, right? So I was also thinking about a time when I was like really hardcore into like, I'm gonna meditate all the time. And I was in West Virginia and there were all these black flies. And I was like, how are you supposed to meditate with all these black flies around me? And again, it was the same thing where I got like a minute or 2 of it. And I was like, well, that's what I got. And then part of the practice was learning how to try to ignore them, you know, and there's like some people that have gotten to a place of being like, oh, look, there's a black fly on me. Look how annoying. Look, it's biting me. It's okay, right? That's like a lot of practice to get there. So I think part of it is about the practice. Like the more and more that, as we're saying, we're like toning the mind to get to that place of like letting go of the road rage or, you know, the dog licking itself and annoying you or the kid crying or something, the more we practice coming to that place of like gentleness with ourselves and learning how to quiet our mind and our distractions and just like coming inward a little bit, the better we can get at it. So instead of like the, only getting 20 minutes out of a session because the other 40 are hectic, maybe you'll get 25 the next time because you just have toned the mind a little bit more. Keeping the left hand where it is, the right arm's going to come up and swoop open sideways here. Anywhere that left arm works, awesome. So there's a little side opening, heart center open, extend that right arm up. And that right arm right back down, tapping the fingers onto the ground. Inhale, coming right back up. Bring the arms up if you can as the right foot presses down into the ground, the right knee up, and twist around to that right leg, wrapping the left arm around it. Keeping the body long, graceful, the bottom of the chin parallel to the ground, the right hand back behind you to support the spine. Left foot pressing away to open up the back of the hamstring and the back of the hip. If you can look over the right shoulder, go ahead and do that. And that's a full twist. Massaging the organs here. Toning the kidneys, the liver for just more efficient work here. Our body does so much. We get to do so many things. And it's all just happening automatically for us, but we can help it out a little bit. Deepening the breath, deep into the belly, even though it's all twisted and the leg is kind of in the way. See if you can almost push the leg out just by deepening the belly breath. And then the right arm up by the ear. And exhale, coming to center. Awesome. Let's pick the right leg up and hold the right foot with the left hand and the right knee with the right hand. And just do a little like hip opener, kind of side to side here. However that works for you. If you want to do little circles, kind of what's your hip calling out to you to do today. Maybe even pulling it in and down, all the different rotations. Actually, let's try that for a second, if you want. If you can try to put the ankle onto your thigh, just hang out there for a moment. It's kind of deepening into that hip. If that feels uncomfortable to you, just dropping it down to the ground is okay. We'll just do a breath or two here if you want to lean forward any amount, really opening that side hip there. Rolling back up wherever you are and stretching that right leg out. And a little heart opener here. I'm going to have my fingertips towards my hips, tucking my shoulder blades together, heart center opening. And releasing, coming back to center. Just taking a moment to settle, to scan the body. How does your hips feel, your sides feel? Getting ready to balance it out here. So take that left foot in towards the inner thigh, pressing the right foot away, dropping that left hip down. Awesome. Arms up by the ears. And again, this is so that we have this like extension that's happening, right? But we don't want to put too much pressure in the shoulders. I'm just super aware of that because my shoulders love to just be tucked up around my ears. So as much as there's extension, there's also that dropping down. So there's air flow between the ears and the neck. Our exhale, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen as far as you can. Down, pressing the fingertips and the heel into the ground. As you come back up, maybe a little back bend, open up to the sky if that feels comfortable, but all the while you're being gentle with yourself. Finding a flow that works for you. Our inhale is what brings us up, and the exhale releases us down. That's my third time, so I'm going to do it 2 more times. Finding that moment of pause also in between the inhale and the exhale, between the exhale and the inhale. I like to think of that moment of pause as being grateful for the next thing that's happening. This is my 5th time, so I'll rest down over the right leg, adjusting however I need to. Maybe I need to walk up a little bit, and then the exhale wiggles me back down. Maybe this side's different than the other side, and you can't fully release down. Wherever you're at, being gentle, maybe closing your eyes, looking inward. This is a lovely pose to really honor yourself here. You're kind of bowing to yourself. I think that's part of it too with your question, is that sense of giving yourself grace and gentleness, and that aspect of practice. The more we practice, the better we get at whatever it is. And that, every day on the mat is different. It's not just like I can touch my nose to my knee this time and I can do it every time. There might just have been, you might have gone for a big bike ride or slept wrong, or just you're not feeling it. So it's about like, how are you today, and taking that time and that quietness to come within and just feel it out, check it out. Keeping the right hand where it is and the left arm swooping open. So a little side opening here, stretching through the left side, the right side. Open up, heart center opening. Sending love out somewhere that you want to send love to. Who needs it or what needs it. And then bring it right back into you as you fold back down over the right leg. And then arms by the ears to come back up. And pressing the left foot into the ground. Once you get there, our exhale, twist the belly, the chest, and then the shoulders, and wrap the right arm around the left knee. Left hand back behind you to support the spine, pressing the right foot away. Look over the left shoulder if that feels comfortable to you. Once again, seeing if you can bring so much breath into the belly that it like moves the leg away from you. But finding that gentleness and that like fluidity of the breath. So as much as we're working on like expanding in these deep breaths, how much with this flow can it be graceful and gentle? And the left arm is going to come up by the ear. That's our inhale. Exhale, twisting to center. And picking up that left leg, holding it with the hands, one on the knee, one on the ankle. And once again, however you are called for this one, pulling it in and down, or side to side, or little circles. Get that extra little moment here. I know my friend Paul likes to really put his fingers in between each toe. It's his favorite pose. That's another option too. And then you can like kind of work the toes there. That one's a funny one. And if it works for you, you can bring your ankle onto your thigh. Just another little stretch there. See a little cat. That's a hilarious moment right there. I don't see Elena anymore. I see a cat. And if you wish, you can rest down over the leg. Take a moment there before you tuck the chin and roll right back up. Both legs stretch right back out. Wiggle them out any amount. Scanning the body from head down to the toes. Awesome. We're going to swoop around onto hands and knees. We're prepping here for some sun salutations, but we're getting there just about. So once you're in hands and knees, hands once again are right underneath the shoulders, spreading each finger really wide and pressing down through each fingertip, and the knees right underneath the hips. right? Maybe the toes, the toenails should touch the ground, right? I mean, you can be on your toes also, but the toenails can also be on the ground. And cat and cow, the back goes up to the sky, stretching through each vertebrae, like we were doing in the beginning, trying to create space between each vertebrae, trying to get a little bit taller here. Drop the belly down. That's my exhale. And really initiating this from, the hips up through the back, through the neck, dropping the head. If you're used to doing this pose, I feel like this is one that people just kind of like flop in and out of. Like, oh, I know this pose. I'm just going to go cat and cow, cat and cow. But taking a moment to really kind of maybe do it in a little bit of a different way, bring a little more presence to it. Checking in, did you move the hands? Are they still spread as wide as they can? Again, with yoga, we're stretching a lot of stuff. We can even stretch in between our fingers. And one more time. Once you're done with that, we're going to stretch the right leg out and just kind of open it up here. I'm opening up my calf. For me, it actually helps to kind of rock up onto my hands and like pick my left leg up. Everybody has a different way. You can just keep the leg down there and stretch it out. I just like to rock up a little bit here. Awesome. Coming back down onto the knee if you're not already, and pressing that right leg away. Imagining that the head is extending out from the hip, and then the heel of that right foot is extending out from the hip as well. The belly is gently pulled in so that we're not dropping the belly down. The back is trying to be flat. Extra oomph is picking that left arm up and stretching the left fingertips away from the right heel. Stay here or go a little bit deeper by bending the right leg and trying to stretch that left hand back to meet it. It might not meet it. It might not want to meet it. If it can, cool. There's a lot of like balancing happening. So we're just working some balance here. Inner thighs pulling in isometrically. That helps to keep stable. Fingertips on the right hand pressing down. Breathe wherever you are. And then gently releasing the hand down, the knee down. Let's rock back onto our shins and just shake out our hands here if you need to. Awesome. And back down. I don't know why it's funny to see everybody doing this. Okay, back onto your hands. And then the left leg goes out. So the left leg, we're opening up the calf here, however it works for you. Again, I don't know why I like to rock up on this one. I think there's just like this one part of my calf that really gets it better when I do that. But for some people, just stretching out through the toes gets it enough. And there you are, Miko. We see you. And I see you too, Jess. There you go. Awesome. And then picking the left leg up and pressing it away. Once again, the belly is gently pulled in towards the back. The best for your neck is actually looking down because it keeps the back of the neck long, but if you need to look up for something, you can. A deeper stretch and working on the balance is picking the right arm up. If you're doing that, the fingertips are pressing away from the heel of the foot. Remember, nobody's watching except yourself. So if you need to bring your hands back down, if you need to rock into child's pose, you go do that. If you need to get up and get water or go to the bathroom or walk the dog, you can do that. If you want, you can bend the left leg and try to wrap that right hand back to meet it. All the while, inner thighs pulling in to keep you stable and left fingertips down. Being gentle with yourself, graceful. Awesome. We're going to rock into child's pose from here before we head up to down dog. So both legs down, head down to the ground. You can stretch the arms forward. You can stretch them back behind you. Awesome. And taking this moment just for yourself, just to breathe. And knowing how powerful resting can be. If you're a little like me sometimes, or like the philosophy of the Western world, it is that go, 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 go is the best thing for you, and keep succeeding and keep going and get stronger and do all the things all at once. But let's recognize that that's not true all the time. And let's just take this moment to honor yourself and recognize that this little moment is the best thing that you can do for yourself and for all the people and creatures around you that I see jumping up onto the screen. and kind of that modeling of resting and integrating and taking a moment of quiet. And just for one moment, imagine that I am with you and I can press down on your lower back and give you a little extra extension, and that fully releasing. You're giving all your weight to the earth and letting go because you have no option. You just get pressed down. So feel that whoosh, letting go before we head on up to downward facing dog. So on one of your next inhales, you will shift and meet us all in downward dog. And once you're there, you don't have to hold it static. You can move one leg and then the other. And if this feels like it's too much, by the way, the other option for downward dog is dolphin. So you're on your elbow to your wrist. I don't know if you can see that here. Yeah, there you go. So elbow to wrist is another option. It might feel a little easier for some if the wrists are too tired or that just doesn't kind of work out for you. But if you are doing, well, whichever one you're doing, bending one knee, stretching the other, and then just taking this moment to check in that your head is just hanging out there. The shoulders tuck away from the ears. Imagine that they're going kind of up the back, even though it's down the back, but since your back is headed up to the sky, imagine that the shoulders move up, I guess, towards the hips. Creates a little bit more space in the neck. Awesome. Moving into plank, shoulders right above the wrist. Then we're going to lower down to chaturanga. You can use your knees to do that if you wish. That's hovering for a moment here. And then we're going to get into sphinx. So dropping down onto your chest, onto your ribs, the hands, the arms right in front of you. Like my camera angle is a little different today. Okay, so you're on your lower arms, on your hands, and just a little really gentle back bend here. Shoulders tucking away from the ears, and heart center open. Find an elongation from your hips through the back of your neck. So you shouldn't tuck the neck backward and tuck the chin up. There's an elongation happening, even though it's also a heart opener. It's a back bend. So, and then moving back into down dog from here. So resting down, back onto your hands, back onto your toes, pressing up and back, elongating the back, and imagining if the hips are aiming towards the wall behind you, and then the feet walk or jump to the hands, forward fold. We're coming to standing here. So on an inhale, swoop the arms out to the side and up to the sky, hands to heart center. And just feeling that momentum, that movement, that whoosh of the blood and the energy from the head back down to the toes. Feel the toes and the heels grounded, pulling up energy from the center of the earth through the arches of your feet, up the leg, into the hips, right up to heart center, connecting to your heart center, connecting to the intention that you set for class, for your day. Releasing your hands at your sides, aiming your fingertips down to the earth, really pressing down with the shoulders. The string in the center of the crown of your head pulls you up, which also elongates the spine, finding that balance just in standing. Be awesome at recognizing the space that you take up, recognizing that it's you, it's unique, it's just who you're supposed to be, and yet you have that option to change and grow. But first, acknowledge how awesome you already are. You are all the things that you are. And you get to inhabit all of that between the earth and the sky, the ground and the heavens. You are that in between. Release the hands, keeping the left foot where it is. The right foot comes back, and we're moving into warrior one here. So you're on the outer edge of that right foot. Once you get there, the left knee is going to bend over the ankle. We're going to do a little different arms today, some cactus arms. We don't always do this, but I've been doing a lot of necessary shoulder opening here. So the shoulders, the elbows are like in line with the shoulders, so not above, right? So we want them a little bit lower. Awesome. And there's this like a little bit more opening where the shoulder blades come together and drop down the back. So there's a little extra extension. Fingertips are extending, exalting, open. And Jess, I got a cat around me today. She doesn't usually come, but today is the day of distraction. Just like wrapping her tail around my thigh here. Finding a sense of joy and freedom in this heart opening pose. You know, there's a lot of energy. I know we're getting tired. Pull energy up from the earth, pull it into the inner thighs. Awesome. Release the hands down, straighten that left leg. Good. Hands onto the hips. And we're going to stretch straight down over that left leg. So any amount that you can come forward. Again, the outer edge of the right foot is pressing down. The left toes and heels are pressing down, pulling in towards the inner thigh, extending the head forward. You can either keep your hands on your hips. You can bring it to your leg if you want that more stable. If you want to go deeper, you can put it on your cat or on the ground here. And then we're going to meet in down dog. So wherever you're at, bring both hands down around that left foot, and the left foot goes back to meet the right. Woo-wee, I'm feeling it in my thighs already. And walk the dog a little bit. That means move one knee, stretch the other. And then pressing back into a full extension of downward dog. And moving into plank. So shoulders right above the wrists. A flat back as well as you can. Cat butt in the face. All right, lower down, chaturanga. So hover here for a moment, and then any back bend that you want to do, you can go back into Sphinx. You can go into Cobra or upward facing dog. The difference is that, you know, you can be on your thighs or you can pop your thighs up, but all the while find that length in the back of the neck. Maybe even a smile. And releasing down or back into downward facing dog. And then walking or jumping the feet towards the hands, forward fold. And exalting up, inhale, swoop the arms out to the side and up to the sky, hands to heart center. Being in this place of balance, of peace, returning to your strength, silence, and releasing your hands at your sides, moving into warrior one on the other side. The right leg stays where it is and the left leg tracks back 3 or 4 feet, something like that. The hips again are trying to aim forward, so they should be kind of, parallel to the front of your mat. The right knee is right over the ankle. If I didn't explain it before, it should kind of point towards like the second and the third toe on your foot, making sure that the knee isn't too far to the right or the left, and right over the ankle so it's not beyond it, right? And the outer edge of the left foot presses down. Let's try cactus arms again if you're cool with that. So that's just this little extra opening, right? Shoulders should be a little, or elbows kind of like a little bit lower than the shoulders so they're not up higher. You can even feel like isometrically, here's a fun one, feel like you're pushing up against a wall, like it's right in front of you and there's just that little extra push. You can feel that like kind of right below the shoulder blades. The tailbone tucks a little bit here. Just feel a sense of opening to the day with that intention that you set, finding that opening, that those little pieces of that intention are coming to you, just by opening up to it, but finding that focus and that goal that you have. Ooh-wee, drop the hands, straighten the right leg. Hands on the hips. And same thing, we're going to just keep the hips where they are. The feet are nice and grounded and lengthen forward. The heart center comes forward, the head comes forward. And if you're feeling wobbly, think about the inner thighs pulling in, kind of up into the pelvic floor. The hands can go onto the leg. The hands can drop down onto the ground, wherever you're feeling today. And it looks like it's 10:45, so not to rush you off, but for those of you that needed to leave at 10:45, make sure that you come down to the ground. I would say like knees into chest and kind of rock side to side for a little bit, and maybe lay flat with the bottoms of the feet together, the knees out to the side. That'll be a good kind of counter pose to this. And we're going to move into downward dog. Thank you, Chastity. Both hands down around the right leg back to meet the left. Let's move from here, a couple breaths. If you want to stay here, you can. If you want to drop into child's pose, you can do that as well. It's about 5 breaths or so. Again, child's pose. Don't look at what I'm doing, just what I'm saying. If you're into down dog, if this is your moment to do your headstand, go for it. If this is your moment to go to the bathroom or drink some water, also okay. And yeah, just taking this moment to recognize this moment. This is what this moment is. We have these plans for it sometimes, and they don't always go as planned. And maybe part of that, like toning of the mind in yoga, back to your question too, Jess, is just recognizing what the moment really holds for you and how you can keep, whatever that intention is in that moment, but without holding too hard and fast to it, if that makes sense. It's like I'm doing headstand today and it just never ended up happening. Well, what did I do that worked towards that? If it was like I'm fully zen in this entire like hour-long practice, but it's just not the thing that happened that day because of too many mental distractions or physical distractions around you. All right, what did you do that aimed toward what you were aiming for? What little steps did you, take to get there? And it wasn't the full thing, but it was, aiming towards it. Another breath or two wherever you are, child's pose or down dog. And then we'll meet in sitting. And if you can sit on your shins, go for that. If you want to try that, but it feels a little tight or tender, you can again elevate your hips. So, you're sitting up on something. If it works for you to stay here, cool, or you can just sit down on your sit bones. There's just a little elevation that happens here. So we're going to do a little shoulder stretch. Awesome. So eagle pose, one of my favorites. So let's give ourselves a hug. Maybe left elbow on the top. Just take a moment, honestly, to give yourself a hug and just love yourself for whoever you are. All the lovely things, all the things you're like, I wish I could change that. Love yourself for all of those. And then try to bring the backs of the hands to touch each other. Maybe even the palms touch. Ooh, super flexy. Wherever you're at, the shoulders should drop away from the ears and the arms should move away from the body, right? And see, that was my cat. Jess, you called it in, I'm telling you. That was pretty cool. Ask, believe, receive, right? All right. That was awesome. All right, so the elbow, the whole shoulder moves away from the body. There's a big opening here. Was it the left elbow on top? Yeah. And then if you want to go even deeper, you can kind of concave the chest. That's the best way I know how to describe it. And that really opens up the back of the shoulders. Check in with your jaw, around your eyes. We love to clench our jaw on this one. That is not going to help though. Hoo-wee. On your next inhale, allow the eagle wings to soar. Really imagine that you are this huge eagle flying in the sky, and then the arms come down to rest on the side. And let's hug ourselves again. Right arm on top. And hug. And love yourself. Jonna was the one that made me do this one. Not like she didn't force me to, but she did this one time. She said, just hug yourself. And man, I cried a little bit. I was like, I haven't hugged myself in a really long time. So you can cry too if you want. Love yourself so much that you can't even take it anymore. And then the arms just pop up. Like big heart center explosion. All right, maybe the backs of the hands touch. Maybe the palms touch. Check in, the shoulders move away from the ears and the whole arms move away from the body. Jaw is not clenched. And then you tuck in here and you press out through the shoulder blades. Find your breath. And then really start to imagine with your eyes closed, you're an eagle flying way above the trees, or maybe like an osprey flying above the ocean or a lake. And on an inhale, swoop your huge wings up and back down to rest on your legs. And stay here for a moment. All right. Let's come down onto our backs. So whenever you're ready, take your moment, swoop around, and just roll back onto your back. If you want, you can hold on to the legs as you roll back, and then the knees are on your chest. And follow more my words than what I'm doing, because I'm going to get up to look at you. And your knees are on your chest, and go ahead and let's rock side to side a little bit. And then let's do happy baby, because we're feeling a little happy today, I hope. So happy baby, you're on your back, your knees are bent and you're grabbing onto your feet in some way or another. You can grab onto the outside of the ankle, the inside of the ankle, onto the toes. And there's just kind of this opening of your legs, and you can still rock side to side. So your legs are a little bit open wide, if that feels comfortable to you. Awesome. Yep. And then just that rocking side to side. Imagine that you're like meeting your toes for the first time. Whoa, look at these things I got. They're mine. Nice. Head and shoulders should be relaxed and comfortable, just resting on the ground. Cool. And let's bring the feet to the ground as wide as your mat and bring the knees in together. So the knees just rest in towards each other. I'm really loving that one lately. Again, the head and the back is just resting, shoulders resting. Right, I'm going to try to teach you my new pose that I've been doing. So it's crescent moon. So imagine like a crescent moon. So you're going to lay flat like in Shavasana, and then you're going to like twist, like let's say to the left, right? So there's kind of like this C curve happening to your left. So one thing is that you're going to stretch the right arm over and kind of pull it with the left arm. That makes sense. And then the left legs are also over to the left side. And I take my left leg on top of my right leg to kind of hold it there. That makes sense. So I'm crossed at the ankles, and I'm taking my left arm and pulling my right arm over. And I'm bending over here to the left side. And really the goal is to open up the right side. Okay, I'm successfully unable to see pretty much everybody because you're on the ground, which is totally fine. So just hopefully it's feeling okay. But there's like, there's that big, huge, amazing stretch happening on that right side. So again, jaws relaxed. There's kind of a lot happening with that big opening happening, but just check in and make sure, like, are your shoulders comfortable in this? Your ankles, do you feel stable in it? And then breathe into that right side in between the ribs and the hips. I mean, really throughout the ribs too, but especially between the ribs and the hips. That's the area that's really just like feeling this. And the more that you rest into it, the more, like, I just imagine, there's like this, like that fascia layer, right? Is that layer on top of the muscles. So little by little, when you just rest and I stop talking and there's silence, there's just this little like opening, and then it's like that breathing into it. More energy gets to flow through you, more healing. A couple more breaths here. And then gently coming back to center, releasing your arms, releasing your legs. Take a moment in between. I like it. People are doing it. You can bring your feet to the ground and the knees up. That's a good transition in between this one. Awesome. And then we'll head to the other side. So this time, what is it? You're making the crescent shape over to your right. So you're bringing your left arm over and the right arm grabs it and pulls the left arm so you can open up that side a little more. The legs are over to the right side. And your ankles are crossed to hold it a little bit more. Just letting it happen, letting those little tiny the little muscles and the big layer on top of them just slowly let go and open up. One more inhale, just breathing into that space. Exhale, let it go. And as you let it go, release the arms. And we're going to move into Shavasana. So if you want to take a pose in between, knees up, feet on the ground, feet together, knees out to the side, whatever you want to do. Get your socks on, your blankets, a pillow under your legs, whatever you want to do. We got, good 3 or so breaths here before we all kind of meet in full Shavasana. You're like, oh, I feel a little too like stretched out, then just pulling your knees into your belly and kind of squeezing them and rocking a little bit side to side is just a good kind of like transition in between those deep stretches to full Shavasana. So that's an option. And now here you are, having this glorious hour to yourself to try and to practice and to work on all the things you are working on. Stretching your mind, your body, strengthening, toning, pulling in, wrapping yourself in love, giving love out to others, and letting go. Maybe thinking that all of life really is just a practice. Just to practice every day in mindfulness, kindness, gentleness, compassion to yourself and to all others around you. And giving that to yourself, giving that compassion to yourself and that goodness, just like hugging yourself, loving yourself, allowing yourself to just fully let go here. And as you feel grounded into the earth, feel all the parts of the ground that are feeling grounded, that are touching the earth, knowing that it's got your back. It takes care of you. And that part that's exposed, that's opened up, that's not touching the ground, is taking care of you also by receiving love, receiving goodness, receiving compassion. What if every inhale is just, you know, God's or spirit's way of just being like, here you go, here's a little bit more compassion, here's some love. You got an inhale. You got new energy. Here it is. I'm just giving you this love. And with every exhale, could be gratitude, thanking whatever it is that gave you all of that, and exhale, giving it back out. strictly speaking, predominantly carbon dioxide that you get to give to the trees and all the green life that just turns it around right back into oxygen, water, and all the good things. And with this knowing that you're just wrapped up in all this good love, let's stretch our arms, bringing the arms right by the ears, stretching away from your toes and getting as long as you can, as open as you can, and then gently bringing the arms back down towards your belly as your knees come up to your belly, and wrap yourself and squeeze and hug here, and then allow yourself to rock gently side to side, pressing the lower back into the ground, grounding out here. Then roll onto one side like you're curled up in bed. For those of you that thought maybe you'd fall asleep, this is a good time to go ahead and fall asleep. But if not, then take this moment to once again give away anything that you don't want to carry with you. You don't have to name it, you don't have to think about it. Just anything that doesn't serve you is going away right now. And when you come to sitting in the next breath or two, you're sitting up with that knowing that all that needs to come to you to help you with the intention that you set and to help you feel compassionate for yourself and others is coming to you just with that graceful return back to sitting. And taking a moment here, closing your eyes, scanning the body with no judgment, just breathing into all the places that are you, that are awesome, that are beautiful. And on an inhale, swoop the arms out and up, giving thanks for this new day, whatever it holds. Exhale the hands to heart center. Once again, bowing to yourself and honoring your practice on the mat and your practice off the mat. And thank you again so much for allowing me to guide you through this practice, for the questions that you ask and the answers that I fumble through. Thanks again for being present today. Namaste. Thanks, friends.